Hi, welcome to Were the Kids All Right, a podcast where we analyze the books we read as kids. My name is Jacqueline and I use they, them, or she, her pronouns.
And my name is Sophie and I use she, her pronouns.
We're two college students who read a lot as children and now have thoughts.
First things first, we use the analytical framework of death of the author. Basically, the author doesn't matter until we say they do.
We also will get into spoilers, so that's your warning for that. For this episode, we'll be discussing themes of mind control and coercion, death and destruction, war, and various systems of power. Please take care of yourself if any of these themes cause you distress.
This week, we read the Dragon Slippers series by Jessica Day George. These books were published in succession from 2009 to 2010 and followed the adventures of Creole, a girl who wants to be a seamstress but keeps getting wrapped up in political drama. She's really good friends with a bunch of dragons and works with them to navigate the complicated relationship between dragons and humans.
Also, there's a lot of mind control, alchemy, and war.
Also, she falls in love with the younger prince, Luca, thus making her wealth-obsessed aunt very happy.
Ooh. So first off, let's talk about what our backgrounds with the books are. I first read the book probably when I was 10 or 12. I don't really remember. But I don't think I've read it since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I read the book either in 4th or 5th grade, and it was introduced to me by a friend. I remember my school had a book fair, and we all got to look at the books, and maybe our parents would come and buy one for us. And my friend had this book called Dragon Slippers, and I just turned to her and was like, "What's that?" She said, "It's really good. It's about a book. It's a story about a girl with magical shoes," which sounded really cool.
Yeah.
So I read it, and I really loved the dragons and the friendships between the characters, and it was just like a really good friendship book.
True.
And also, I'm a politics major. So the politics were really, really interesting. And I also thought it was really cool that Creole was a career girl, and she really lived the stereotypical, really problematic American dream. But, I mean, in Farival or wherever the country was.
Yeah, I would say, biggest impact this book had on me is I really wanted to be a dressmaker for a long time. Freshman year of high school, I literally took a class on, sewing and stuff because of this book, but, low-key. Yeah. There also was one time, I had this Halloween costume when I was younger. It was, some Barbie thing. But I remember years after wearing it for Halloween, I looked at it and I remembered some of the descriptions of the dresses in Dragon Slippers, and I was like, what if I tried to recreate one right now with this dress?
There's a particular gold dress that
keeps
going back.
That one.
It has those stained glass panels.
Yes. There's one description of it at some point, I think it's in the second book, where Creole, makes the underskirts looked like flower petals by, burning the edge of the fabric. Mm-hmm. I tried to do that. It didn't work as well as I thought it would.
Yeah.
But I tried really hard.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of wish fulfillment in this book.
You're so right.
Okay, so part of this podcast is that we reread these books. So we reread the entire series in the past 2 weeks. And now we have new thoughts. I know I personally I still had a lot of fun. I really liked the dialogue and I liked the interactions between the characters, but the pacing was just so fast and I felt like it didn't quite take the time for the more serious elements of the book and how the characters were feeling. And, I don't know, the personalities of the characters were really strong, but I think that the character development was it wasn't like a close book. It felt very far. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I liked it. I definitely found myself enjoying the last book more because it was more complex and serious theme. Mm-hmm. And then I liked the first book for the nostalgia, but the second book, I just don't remember. I read it a week ago, and I don't really remember it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really enjoyed them. I feel like I really liked the quick pace because I read a lot for school and it's just like, it's slow paced and it's just like boring. So it was really refreshing to read something that was like quick and kind of witty and like trying to be witty and just like moved in a way that a lot of novels that I'm reading for college don't. And also I think my sense of humor just like hasn't changed since I was a child because...
Would explain a lot.
Rude. But as Sophie can attest, I was literally laughing out loud while reading this.
Yes, and I just love a good political plot with social commentary, which this book does.
Yeah, but probably not as much as you wanted it to.
No, yeah. It is so extremely, like, white and heterosexual, which is, I mean...
It's, like, fine. Could be better.
You know, we'll get more into that later. Fine with the heterosexuality, but we'll see.
We'll talk more about that
later.
Yeah. Anyways, I love dragons. And I love books about dragons. And I love dragon characters. And there aren't enough good dragons because I feel like a lot of times when authors write dragons, they make them like big scary monsters. But here, they're friends. I just want to be friends with a dragon. Is that too much to ask? Apparently.
Friendship is good.
Friendship is good. Okay. Okay, so our next section is Inner Editor, where we talk about writing quality and all that fun stuff.
Yep.
I think it's really fun to try and look at how authors write to see if you can figure out anything deep and meaningful about them. Mm-hmm. And you can definitely do that a little bit with Jessica Day George.
Definitely doing well with Death of the Author here.
Oh yeah, we're killing it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we can bring back the author for this moment.
Okay.
Just a little. But anyways, writing style.
She used surge a lot. I don't know what to tell you in the first book. And she used surge. I felt a surge of joy. I felt a surge of guilt. I felt a surge of fear. And
it's an interesting word choice.
Yeah, and it really reminds me of the novel I would have written like about the time when I was reading it, where I like had a character like I had a character whose stomach did a revengeful flop, and I had a character who always felt surges of feelings, like always. So it was very reminiscent of that, and I felt like the Creole's voice was kind of similar to one of my characters. My first person character's voice from... So that was interesting. I was definitely influenced. I'll just say that.
I feel like Creole's voice in these books is like really interesting to me because it's first person, which definitely makes a more like intimate setting for the novel, but also it very much felt like she was telling me the story. There's this one point in, I believe, the second or third book where she's like, I forgot all about this character being... It was the third book when Durham? Yeah, Durham. I would like to take a moment right now to apologize for our slaughtering of the pronunciation of these words.
But Jessica J. George didn't make it easy, so you know.
Yeah, that's on her.
Yeah.
We're just trying our best. Anyways, that dragon is like being weird, and there's like Creole's noticing him being weird, and then she says, like, after eating all this delicious food, I completely forgot about his weirdness. Mm-hmm. And that very much felt like she was talking directly to the audience and like telling you a story instead of like living it.
Yeah, she doesn't really let us in on her emotions. Mm-hmm. Like, she'll, like, observe maybe, like, in passing other people's emotions. And I constantly found myself wanting her to linger more on how she was feeling and spend more time, like, really drawing in more emotion and... I don't know, recognition of some of the more serious elements, like, you know, the mind control. Like, I'm a big fan of, well, not a big fan, but I'm very concerned about whenever a book has mind control, how authors handle that and take care to make sure that this is like consent and mind control, where there's none, but some authors don't seem to know that for some reason. And I just felt that Creel was well done in personality, but I didn't like get a sense of her reaction to all the serious things going on, and I would have liked more reaction from her and from the other characters instead of just observing that someone looked serious or someone's voice was tense.
Yeah, I feel like first person sets up that expectation for us that, like, we're gonna get those thoughts, but Jessica Day George's books are very fast-paced and don't leave a lot of time for that.
Yeah, she also uses a lot of adverbs in her, especially around dialogue, and I think she does dialogue very well because the dialogue doesn't, it's very
conversational.
It flows really, really well, but it means that she doesn't stop in the middle of a dialogue scene to talk about, again, how characters are feeling. Yeah. And, like, describing, like, visually or in, like, any sort of sensory way what is going on.
Yeah. I would say, overall, the writing quality was, like, better than I was expecting. I feel like, personally, I have kind of a low expectation for some of the more middle school grade books. But it's really nice to go back to them and be like, oh, this is actually really good writing. We're not just giving children garbage.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I really thought it would be better than it was.
Okay.
I know. The thing is, like, once I lowered my expectations after picking up the first book again and being like, okay, so this is definitely, like, it's very simplistic writing, which works well for middle grade. But I think the best children's books are the ones that everyone can read. And this definitely felt like a book that like an adult might have a harder time getting through because of the writing quality being very, very, like, surface level.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it did get better. It really got better.
Yeah. Like, she did publish these books, like, one a year, and you can really tell that writing more often and writing in this world, like, she got better by the third book.
I also read some other books by her. I don't know when they were published, but it was like Princess of the Midnight Ball, Princess of the Silver Woods, like based off of the 12 Dancing Princesses. And she read them in third person, I think. And I know there's a lot of debate on first person versus third person. But in general, it's easier to write first person, but it is harder to do it well. And it's easier to write third person well, but harder to do it. And I think that definitely came across because I remember those books being very, I don't know, even though it was third person, it felt like emotionally more
intimate, maybe.
Yeah, and there was more character growth. The romance was also took like a bigger role, which at the time made me super uncomfortable because, not straight. But I mean, I'm not straight. The romance was straight.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually didn't mind the romance in this, which we'll get to.
Are we done talking about
writing quality? While we're on romance, there was a lot of blushing. She conveyed the romance entirely through blushing.
Yes. We'll, like, get back to Jessica Day George's, like, personal background and how we can see that in her writing, but you can definitely see it when it comes to relationships. Anyways, talking about the relationships in this book, let's move to characters. I love the characters. I love them all so much. Yeah. Creel is really good, and she's, like, very much kind of, I think, if these books came out today and were marketed to maybe a little bit of an older audience, I feel like people would accuse Creel of being very much like a Mary Sue type character. even though I hate that description. But, like, as a young person reading her point of view, like, she was such a strong, independent character, and I really liked that. And she just, like, she loves her friends. She has dragon friends that she calls her family, which is just, like, so good.
Yeah. At the end, she's like, these are my family.
Yeah. And also, she's just, like, I feel like she, like, the way that she's written and why she would be called Mary Sue is because she seems very different from the other characters around her sometimes, where, like, sometimes it seems like she's the only character who's calling out this bad thing and she just can't help herself.
Mm-hmm.
Even though if like this was reality, there would probably be more characters doing the same.
I'm wondering if she just has no sense of, like, she just doesn't care about social norms.
Creole?
Yeah.
Yeah. She really
so
doesn't.
sometimes other characters would be like, please just wait to assess the situation, Creole, like, stop. She has a little bit of, like, a reckless and reckless streak.
A little stubborn, a little reckless.
Becomes
a running joke.
Yeah, she's a little naive.
Definitely. But also something that, like, okay, this is one of the things that shocked me most on the reread.
Mm-hmm.
In the first book, she's 16. A baby.
Yeah, but older than a lot of middle grade characters.
That's true. But still, like, I don't know. Maybe this is just part of me being older now. Mm-hmm. But, like, when I was first reading this, I was like, oh, Creel's such an adult. She's, like, 16. I can't wait until I'm 16 and can go on fun dragon adventures. Not actually. I knew that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
I wasn't, like...
And to be clear, when the first book starts and she's 16, her aunt leaves her in a cave with a dragon
who could eat her.
Yes. Well, for all they know, because they think the dragons are hostile in the beginning of the book, which gets proven wrong pretty quickly. But her aunt leaves her in a cave so that some lord
can rescue her and then marry her.
Yes, she's 16.
I don't think I saw a problem with getting married that young when I was younger, because I feel like when you're young, you don't have a conception of what age is, really.
Yeah.
But reading this now as a 20-year-old, someone getting married at 16 freaks me out. And, like, she's what, like, 18 at the end of the
If it's consensual and if the other person is...
of a similar age.
Yes. Power to you. But also...
It's like, that's your whole life.
It's difficult.
I don't know. But, like... I can't remember if she's 18 in the end of the third book or older.
I think she's either 18 or 19.
I think she might be 19 because I feel like I remember Luca being described as 18 in the second book.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But also, I don't know if Luca is actually the same age as her. I don't know how big, the age gap is between them.
It's like a year.
Okay.
I think he's a year older.
Okay.
Or something like that.
That is one thing that I liked, that there wasn't a huge age gap between Creole and Luca, because those freak me out a lot.
Yeah, while we're on the subject of Luca.
Yes, what about him?
Luca was very, very nice.
I wrote down in my notes, a valid man.
Yes, valid. Yes, he's very kind. He doesn't seem that interested in politics, which is...
a downside for you.
I mean, he is a prince.
He's the second. He's the younger prince.
I kind of wish he'd be a little bit more knowledgeable.
Well, he knows more than Creole, but that's also not hard to do.
No, that's not hard. But, he is young. I definitely think that if you're in a position of that much power, you should care a little bit more. But that's my only criticism of him. He's very kind. He's really nice to not only to Creole when he has a crush on her in the first book, but he's also really nice to her friends.
Yeah. Just good friendship stuff.
Yeah, and he's a prince who has friends too. Yeah. Like, these characters meet each other when they have friends, so it's not like this codependent deal, and he's not like a brooding, mean prince who needs to be reformed by Creole's
kindness
and stubbornness and she's not like other girls-ness.
Yeah. It's not like Creel is saving Luca from himself, and it never feels like Luca is there to, like, save Creel. Like, she never becomes a damsel in distress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially in the third book, a lot of Luca's role is, like, trying to protect Creel, and her just being like, you can come with me if you want, but I'm going anyways.
Yeah, he generally he's very supportive.
Yeah.
He's very supportive of her career.
Yes.
Let's be real, Creel got really lucky with her career.
That's
she got
very true.
extremely helped by the Duchess of Mordril and Luca.
Mm-hmm.
She made friends in high places.
Yes.
Which helps the American Dream theory because she got, she didn't just get there, she got help.
Yeah.
She had her bootstraps pulled.
She did a little bit of the initial pulling, and then some of the other people helped her the rest of the way.
She was given the boots.
Literally.
Yeah. She got the dragon slippers.
She gets the boots, the slippers. Okay, anyways. And then she definitely does fit the American dream, or that whole ideal. And she is often, like, in the right place at the right time, or the wrong place at the wrong time, given how you view her.
Yeah, and I do really like how there were a lot of books, especially in the early 2010s decade, where, like, women, like, characters, like, girl characters or whatever, weren't supposed to have any traits that were considered remotely feminine.
Yes, they were supposed to be, like, strong, independent woman who don't need no man. But that usually meant them just being, like, entirely masculine and unfeeling.
Yeah, and she wants to be a dressmaker. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, like, I bought into the you can't have any feminine traits thing when I was younger. But, like, that is so valid.
Yeah.
It's cool. I like it.
I think Creel is one of those characters who definitely, like, helped me conceptualize more that, like, you can do whatever the heck you want regarding, like, feminine and masculine energies, if we want to go with that sort of talk.
It's complicated.
Life's complicated. Everything's hard.
Yep.
But, like, she is able to go on these really cool adventures, but she still has, like, dressmaking and embroidery, which is very much, like...
And she uses it in such badass ways, let me tell you.
She, like, her dresses that she embroiders play, like, essential plot points. Mm-hmm. Like, how cool is that?
Yeah, she uses them to make wings in the second book.
Oh my god, yeah.
For Shardus, who's dueling his brother.
Yeah, and then in the third book, she has to, like, rip up her wedding dress that she spent months embroidering in order to save Shardus and, oh god, what's her name?
Velika?
Velika.
Whatever.
We'll go with Velika. Shardus and Velika's eggs. Oh my god, that scene got me. Mm-hmm. But I do love how, like, her dressmaking is such an integral part of her character. Mm-hmm. Like, it's what gets her story started. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, it gets her on the path to the capital, quite literally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really does. And in terms of the other characters, obviously the dragons are huge.
We love the dragons.
The dragons are great. So the first dragon she meets is Theoratus, whatever his name is.
I keep calling him Theodore in my head.
Like, we both forgot that he died.
I was heartbroken. I forgot that he dies at the end of the first book.
And none of this would have happened. He wouldn't have died if he wasn't so good on his promise to let Creel have the first shoes that she picked.
What an honorable dragon!
Yeah, and also if maybe some people had told Creel, like, if Shardus had maybe communicated what the slippers were to Creel, but also it's understandable because how was Sharda supposed to know to trust a human after
And
what
also-
the humans did to the dragons?
And also to, like, know that she needed to be trusted, to know the importance. Yeah, the first book in, like, how she deals with the slippers, very funny, I think.
She takes
just,
them
like,
off because they were itching.
Which is like, how are you not concerned about that more so? Like, your feet itch every single time you wear these shoes. You're hearing voices in, like, the back of your head.
Yeah, and
But you're just like, this is normal.
she's like, this is fine. I'm gonna keep making a pink dress with a red sash for the shop gown. Yeah, Shardis is the dad Creel never had.
Yes! I feel like we get a little bit of background on Creel's mom,
Yeah.
but, like, nothing on Creel's dad except
Who
the fact
knows?
that he was a bad farmer.
Yes.
So Shardis really does step into the whole, like, responsible father figure for
She
her.
cares for her so much.
Yeah. She literally says at the end of the second book that the head of her family is a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
AKA Shardis is the head of her family.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, and we can get into the gender roles of the dragon later.
Yeah. That's a really interesting thing about the dragons is, like, I feel like some of them have I feel like Shardis and Velka have very defined roles as king and queen, and those end up being very gendered. But I think overall, the dragons kind of are all over the place in terms of how gendered they are.
Niva, number one badass.
Yes, Niva,
Feniel,
the best.
my guy, Shardis's cousin, dithering.
A dithering idiot.
Jessica Day George describes him as dithering. So, but he's great. He collects dogs, and if you haven't read the book before, that sounds a little weird. But yeah, they all have different hordes.
And they collect things.
Yes, he
And-
collects dogs.
He collects dogs, which ends up being really cute.
But it's so weird.
Little bit weird, but also, like, he gives a dog to Miles, aka the Crown Prince, aka Luca's older brother, and, like,
Azarte.
and Miles gives Fennel a dog, and it's, like, very cute.
Yeah.
Or, well, not really gives him a dog, but, like, the Amelia, the princess in the first
yeah,
book,
Amalia's dog.
Amalia, her dog Pippin ends up going to Feniel
Yeah.
once she dies.
And Velika, number one queen.
Oh my god, yes.
She's been through so much.
What a life she's lived. And, like, the fact that she's willing to trust humans after
Yeah.
everything she's been through.
But it does take a while, because in the beginning
Yeah.
of the second book, she was very nervous about Creel.
That's true.
Um,
But I feel like by the end of the third book, she's, like, very much team human. Well, maybe not team human, but, like...
well, you don't want to be team human. You want to be team everyone.
Fair. But she does make a point of protecting the humans that the dragons in the third book are
Yeah.
keeping.
Keep enslaving.
Yeah.
Enslaving.
Well, there's various degrees of enslavement, it seems like.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, the dragons definitely are, like, really cool. And I feel like part of the reason why the third book stands out so much and it, like, feels more complex and different from the first two books is because of the focus on dragons and their, like, political structures.
Mm-hmm.
The first two books kind of talk about it, like, we know that Shardis is the king of dragons about, like, halfway, 2/3 of the way through of the first book.
Mm-hmm.
And then we learn a little bit more about his role as king and Velika's role as queen later on. But we don't really see that in action until the third book,
Yeah.
when they, like, really have to be king and queen.
Yeah, the first two books really center around the dragons getting mind controlled.
By
First,
humans.
Yeah, by
Well,
humans.
sort of.
One of them first by the Slippers, which a human king of Faravel, like way back.
Made out of Velka's
Yeah. messed up.
Yeah, Velka's hide. He literally like tricked her into being friends and blah blah blah.
Then rewrote history about the dragons being hostile.
Yes. And then in the second book, the mind control originates from another dragon, and it's a different type of alchemy because like the slippers, they can control every single dragon by whoever's like wearing the slippers.
But there is alchemy that can counteract that because they make these collars.
Yeah, but then in the second book, the mind control is more individualized to the dragon, where they have to wear these special collars in order to be mind control, and it has something to do with like their the scales that they shed. But that mind control it's being done on the dragons by humans, but there is a dragon, Shardis's brother, who is mind controlling a human king, and he's the dragon's working with the Lord Visor, so like second in command in that.
It's always
government.
the vizier. It's
Vizier.
always the vizier.
But yeah, so the mind control is very different in the two books, and then there's not really mind control in the third book, but it's more like cultural mind control.
Yeah,
is how I was thinking about it, because like they're I've been watching a lot of videos about cults recently. So I know a lot about them.
Yeah.
And it seems like in the third book, the dragons are kind of indoctrinated into this way of thinking, into this false history of their ancestors, where instead of believing that, I don't know, they like follow the younger of the first dragons that are born, the younger daughter instead of the firstborn daughter, even though it's kind of confusing.
I don't think that there's anything wrong with following the other daughter though, but they were given like a false
narrative, and I think they also like elevate their queens to a figurehead level, where Velika is doesn't really want to be seen as a figurehead, and she is more of a complete character. But these other dragons, like, a lot of how cults work is like they center around a singular personality and like that the narrative around that personality, and I think that definitely happens at least a little bit with the dragons. The dragons in the third book.
Yeah. In terms of characters, Amalia is one of the central figures of the first book, and
the main villain.
Yes. And when I remember when I first read it, I thought Amalia was like so funny how spoiled and terrible she was.
Oh, I hated her. I hated her this time too.
Yeah, well, okay, you're not supposed to like her.
True.
But I definitely think that there's more to Amalia than we actually see, in that it's very possible she was being completely manipulated by her father.
That's true. Because she is just, well, I don't want to say just, but she is a young woman in a system of monarchy where it seems like it's a patriarchal system. Yeah. And because they wanted to have war with Faravel or whatever. They wanted Faravel's, like, resources.
Some vague,
trading, war excuses.
Yeah, so they were going to get the slippers to control the dragons, and Amalia's role was to get the slippers.
And to, like, find out, I believe it was also to find out the weaknesses of the kingdom.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, on a similar vein, Larkin was the one who actually helped Amalia get the slippers from Creole and stole them in the middle of the night. Then Amalia gave Creole a dress in exchange, which she described as quite horrible, and yeah, it turned into something memorably amazing.
Yeah, so Larkin works with Creole in the dress shop where she first finds work in the city after, hijinks. But Larkin is this, like, seemingly average girl. She seems very nice and welcoming at first. She has a crumpled leg. they describe it as crippled. They don't really describe it any other way, which is
yeah, I mean,
a little bit of an issue.
I mean, that is not a word that people
generally use anymore. Yeah. But Larkin turns out to be a very monarchist character.
She's really pious. She's really into the monarchy. She's into rules, but she's into rules to the point where she betrays her own kingdom.
Mm-hmm. Well, me reading a little bit into Larkin, probably a little bit more than one is supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, like, she clearly isn't treated very well by the people in her kingdom. Like, in the dress shop that she meets Creel
so much
in.
ableism.
Yeah, it's very ableist. Like, she's literally kept in the back of the shop, and she isn't allowed to interact with the people in the front because she literally says no one wants to be waited on by a cripple. Which is, like, extremely problematic and, like, not a great view to give children.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems understandable that if Amalia is being kind to Larkin, like, it makes sense that Larkin would feel indebted to her.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, want to be raised up in status through helping Amalia.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to say Amelia.
If it makes it, like, if it makes it seem like Rulain, like, maybe Rulain having control of Faravel would be, like, a different story. Like, I don't know what their politics are.
Yeah. Rulain, which is Amalia's kingdom, is actually one of the few places that we don't get that much background on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't learn a lot about their culture.
I just know that they're in between Faravel and Sidite.
We know its geography better than we know its culture.
Yeah.
Which seems a little bit problematic.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I feel like you definitely could read Amalia as being more complex. Personally, I don't love the reading of viewing her as being controlled by her father. Because, like, I don't know. I like that she's an evil woman character, if that makes sense.
Yeah, she's so young.
She is so young.
And she didn't deserve to die.
Well,
she didn't deserve to die.
Okay.
I understand she had to because she had the slippers on, but still, she didn't deserve it.
She is just, like, I think she's a little bit older than Creel, I think. She's, like, 17 or 18.
She didn't deserve to die.
She actually might be older because she's getting married to Miles, and we don't know how old Miles is.
Yeah.
Or she's, like, betrothed.
Yes. But Amalia's
right.
replacement, Isla.
Oh my god.
Great.
Countess Isla.
Yes.
A goddess.
Yes.
Among men.
Yeah, I've also, like, I've had this weird thing. I remember having this weird thing. I know that she's barely in it, but their friend in Ally.
Mm-hmm.
I remember just, like, really liking her and wanting more of her for, like, no reason.
Yeah, that's a little bit. I did not have that experience. I thought Ally was kind of,
Ally's not an important character. She doesn't do much.
Yeah, no, she doesn't really do anything. She's just kind of, like, there to remind you that Creel has other friends.
Yes, but still, I just wanted more of her. I remember I wanted more of her for some stupid reason. I was like, she probably has a story.
Well, yeah, because we barely hear anything about her.
Uh-huh.
And, like, she's also one of the few characters that doesn't get a love interest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so,
you know,
maybe that's why you liked her so
yeah,
much.
that's probably why.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
But, like, when Creel first gets to the store, like, she learns more about Marta, who we'll talk about in a sec, because I love Marta. She learns more about Marta and Larkin, but Ally she doesn't really learn about.
Mm-hmm. Still.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I really wanted more of Ally.
I want to talk about Marta.
Yes.
Marta's great. She's, like, such a supportive friend, and, like, she's one of those characters where even though she doesn't have a lot of screen time. Like, she isn't usually involved in, like, she has a pretty big role in the second book in the main, like, conflict.
Yeah.
But she doesn't play a huge role in the first and third book in, like, the main conflicts that happen. But, like, she feels like a well-developed character, and as though she has a full life behind her. Like, you learn about her family a little bit.
Her role isn't just to support Creel.
Yeah, even though she is a very good, supportive friend.
Yes.
Yeah. Her relationship with Tobin is so good.
Really fast, though.
True.
Too fast.
Tobin is Luca's bodyguard and has been for, like, ever.
Yeah.
And he's also mute, and uses sign language, which is really cool. So we're kind of, like, half and half for the ableism in these books. There's, like, some positive representations.
You know, it helps if you're friends with the prince. That really is kind of the moral of the... It helps if you're friends with the prince. Or more.
Well.
Or more.
Okay. I will say, the one thing that I noticed about both Tobin and Larkin, who are, like, our two main characters who have disabilities.
Token.
They're not really tokenized because there is more than one of them, luckily. Yeah. But they both do have, like, like, they're underneath royalty. Like, they directly are underneath royals. Mm-hmm. And, like, that works out really well for Tobin, not so well for Larkin. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But on a slightly different note, Tobin, he just, like, he puts up with a lot from being friends with Luca, as well as being his bodyguard. And he just, like, is a very good sport.
Yeah. And they do put, like... Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. But I definitely think that was a relationship that really... I think would have done better if it had been developed in the second book instead of at the very end of the first book, because...
Marta and Tobin.
Yeah, Marta and Tobin, because it felt very rushed. They were just kind of like... So Creel was noticing Marta and Tobin getting along. They've been talking.
And then, bam, they're engaged.
Yeah, just like, what? They're getting married? And to be fair, their engagement is very long. They don't get married until the end of the second book, but their actual... Just as a kid, Dave George wasn't going to write a sequel and didn't intend that when she wrote the first. Yeah.
Just to revive the author real fast.
Yeah.
We're really killing it with the death of the author.
Oh, yeah,
Anyway, but yeah, she wasn't intending to write a second book, so, like, it makes sense that she was trying to tie up these quote-unquote loose ends.
Yeah. And, like, that would have been a great subplot in Dragonflight. Mm-hmm. Where we could have seen more of it. Because they were in the same place. They were both in Sidete.
Yeah, and they were very much paralleling Luca and Creel's relationship.
Which was a slow burn.
Quite a slow burn.
Because they went from friends to kissing once in the second book.
To getting engaged at the end of the second book.
To getting married.
At the end of the third book.
At the end of the third book, and then going into a cottage that Shardus made for them, but for, like, after the wedding.
So you know.
Yeah. And to like, Creel being like, I can't wait to have her firstborn.
Yeah.
And that's how the book ends.
Which is, like, a pretty positive ending for her story.
Yeah.
Like,
they were really blushing around it for a while.
Yeah. I think, given the fact that we know that Jessica Day George wasn't intending to write more than one book, like, Marta and Tobin's relationship makes a lot more sense. But yeah, Creel and Luca's relationship is such a slow burn.
Yeah, and I like it. Like, they're friends first, and I really like it. I really, really think that it's kind of similar to Ella and Char from Ella Enchanted, and how they were friends first, and then Char was like, hey, I want to marry you, and Ella was like, no, because I have obedience, the curse of obedience.
That's another kind of messed up mind control book.
Yeah, but so good. Ella Enchanted is so good, and I hope we can talk about it in a future episode. So good. Not the movie, the book.
Okay.
Disney really Disneyfied the movie.
But yeah, the slow burn relationship I think works for them. One thing that I didn't love about their relationship, even though it was like true where it was a little bit like right from the beginning, you know they're like gonna end up together, but a lot of Creel's relationship with her friends Marta, and why do I keep wanting to say Martin? I don't know. Okay. Anyways, a lot of her conversations with Marta and Allie are like, oh, the prince is here. He wants you.
But to be fair, I would totally be like that to my friend if the prince
would be.
What? Okay, more like I have been like that.
As have I. I think we're both guilty.
Or go guilty with the same friend.
You know who you are.
Yep.
But yeah. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's like kind of cute, but also the assumption of relationships is never something that I'm a big fan of. Mm-hmm. But I think it works out well.
Yeah, they were really blushing a lot.
They do. They blush like
they blush,
every other
and
page.
He's just like, call me Luca, and she's just like, oh, thank you, you're Luca.
You're Luca. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Okay, I feel like we should move on to world building.
Yeah. Characters are just so good.
Yeah, characters. I am a character reader. I love reading characters.
Mm-hmm. Hey y'all, it's Editing Jacqueline and Sophie. We ended up having a lot to talk about, so we're splitting the episode into 2 parts.
Next time we'll get into world building, our ratings, and much, much more.
Meanwhile, check us out on Twitter and Instagram at WTKA_podcast and at our website. The link will be in the description.
Thanks for listening, and we'll be back with part 2 next week.
Caxton's Bones! Have a great day!